Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, and to be honest, I'm still riding a high from watching the Mortal Kombat trailer when it broke for us in the UK at about 4 o'clock yesterday. And I've just been watching that thing over and over and over, putting it in 4K, slowing it down, watching it in slow motion to see what other bits and pieces I could find to tell you about. So, let's just go through the trailer. There's a ton to get to. There's a ton of different plot teasers and different story details that are in here that I'm not going to say are necessarily spoilers because I literally don't know. But I guess if you want to go in completely blind or whatever, then I don't even know. The decision's yours. But there's some interesting stuff to talk about, so we should break it down. So first up, right at the very beginning of the trailer, when Jax is hunting down SubZero, to me, the idea of SubZero being a vigilante, someone that they're going after, feels like a direct callback to Mortal Kombat Rebirth from 2010. This was a sort of really interesting fan-style project that recast the MK mythos as a way more serious thing. You had Reptile being a serial killer, you had Jax on the hunt for him as like this police detective squad leader type dude, and apparently NetherRealm or Midway didn't back this to make it into a full movie, but it did become MK Legacy in 2011, where it continued that sort of general tone. You know, it's fine, MK Rebirth is brilliant, it's way better than Legacy, and I feel like they're just doing a nice little nod to that. So I would totally recommend Rebirth if you want some a different take on the Mortal Kombat mythos. Also, it's worth pointing out here that the bit where SubZero destroys Jax's arms, just blows them up, ices them and blows them up. A lot of people saying, what the hell, why isn't this Ermac? Because Ermac's the dude, he's like a walking soul prison. He's this like sort of, you know, sorcerer type dude that destroys Jax's arms in the canon. And that's, you know, that's a disappointment. Well, that's not actually canon. Like, that's the way that it goes in the video games, but if you watch Mortal Kombat Scorpion's Revenge, the new animation from last year, Goro does it in that. In a comic, it's been Baraka. You know, I like the idea that they're just sort of putting their spin on, you know, Jax's arms being destroyed. That's just kind of cool. And so yeah, so don't be too precious about Jax's arms being destroyed. Different ways it can go down. Next up, we should talk about Cole. Cole Young is a whole new character played by Lewis Tan, obviously very capable martial artist, which is brilliant, and they're very much using him as a way to sort of get into the Mortal Kombat mythos, have him be this guy that just comes across the, you know, supernatural abilities of all this different cast and have him be the audience conduit kind of thing, rather than making it so that Liu Kang is the main character like he was in the 95 movie. And I quite like that idea. One massive thing to point out with Cole, though, is if you look at the shots towards the end of the trailer that still include him, he's kind of like bulked up. He has what looks like a reinforced sort of armor or skin on his top half. And if you look to the midpoint of the trailer after Sonya is explaining to Cole about the reality of the tournament itself that takes place across human history, look at that plaque and you can see an individual standing in the middle with black pants and a red stripe down the side, who's obviously very built in that plaque as well. I think that dude is who Cole Young becomes. In early versions of talking about the Mortal Kombat movie, Simon McQuoid, the director, got out there, and there's also, you know, the movie's official description saying that Cole Young's whole path is to enter the tournament, fight these different people, and discover what supernatural ability he also has, what power he's going to awaken. And I think that must be this, because there is a direct visual parallel between the dude in the middle of this plaque and what Cole looks like. If you look at him in the Goro shot, when Goro's leaping towards him, just freeze frame on that and look at him, that's not his normal back at all. That looks like a way more bulkier, super strength version of that dude. And also look towards the very end of the trailer when Scorpion and SubZero are fighting, just after Scorps does his get over here style thing. Look in the background and you can see Cole crouched behind him as well, behind SubZero being thrown. Also very bulky. It looks like he's got like a golden chest or something. So my assumption would be that Cole Young is this reincarnation or whatever of this one warrior from, you know, different tournaments past, and that's what the mark is. That's what, you know, he's going to be. I know Jax says that the mark just means that you've been chosen, but we don't see any other people with that mark necessarily, or not yet anyway. So maybe the chosen thing is just that means he's going to be that person. Either way, it seems like Cole's second half of the movie form is directly relating to this plaque version of him, which is kind of cool. Next thing for Cole is in the scene where he's looking into the mirror. The trailer flashes a cut of Scorpion and he very much reacts to it. That makes me think, it reminds me of an earlier conversation with Simon McQuoid where he was describing that the opening of the Mortal Kombat movie, the new movie, takes place in feudal Japan. That we'll actually get to see Hanzo Hasashi, Scorpion before he's Scorpion, and the original, Bihan as SubZero, played by Joe Taslim. Haruyuki Sanada is Scorpion, in their human forms before, like Hanzo gets killed and becomes Scorpion in the Netherrealm, before SubZero gets more of his mask on, or whatever. That whole feudal Japan opening, pretty much for me, one of the only ways I can think that would tie into a modern day version of Mortal Kombat, the characters and everything else, is to make someone like Cole Young a descendant of one of their bloodlines. Why would he be seeing this spectral version of Scorpion if there wasn't a direct connection? Unless there's just all of that idea of him being the chosen one and Scorpion descending and he's Scorpion's from Netherrealm and all that energy is just kind of out there and it's making different connections as everything plays out. Maybe it's just that. But why else would he be seeing Scorpion in his mind when he looks in the mirror if there's not a more direct connection between the two? Speaking of Hanzo Hasashi as well, again, McCoy was talking to IGN just after the trailer broke and revealed that they did look into Scorpion's iconic rope dagger combo, and they are going to show how this tool came about. In real Japanese history, the kunai was just a gardening tool, and if you look, there's a very quick cut where you get to see it being embedded in some soil before Hanzo has to take it out the ground, mesh it with the rope, craft the iconic Scorpion dagger combo thing, and then go to work on those three dudes that are assumedly Lin Kuei assassins. They must be SubZero's crew coming to take him out. Point being, though, that the kunai in this movie is not going to be another living, weird dragon head thing like it was in the 1995 one. It seems like it is going to be something that wraps around his wrist that he does use, like in real time, which is kind of the direction that the games have gone. It's at some degree he was conjuring it, to some he was an actual weapon. I like the idea that it's an actual weapon that the real Hanzo learned how to use, and now he sort of brings it back as Scorpion. This also forms a pretty cool segue where we do actually get to see Outworld and Netherrealm, or at least I'm pretty sure we do. Outworld seems to pop up in a couple of different shots, one being Shao Kahn's statue, and they cut to a big old badass looking Shao Kahn in this sort of stony, old school, really dark looking realm that would be a dead ringer for Outworld. There's also a shot when Melina is introduced earlier on, a big drone shot overlooking a much bigger landscape that also could totally be Outworld. In terms of Netherrealm, well, actually, in terms of Outworld as well, there is the bit where Jax is standing still and there's a bunch of like spears and what looks like remnants of battle all around him. That makes me think that it's Outworld, but it was also the way that the 1995 movie did its version of Netherrealm, just various, disused, unused ships and different pieces of, two sides have gone to war and this is what's left. They could be directly channeling that as well. But in terms of Netherrealm specifically, we do see Hanzo emerging as Scorpion with the hood on, surrounded by just hellfire and lots of different hellacious-looking imagery, which would make me think that we are going to go to Netherrealm at some point. The next big thing that I want to focus on is the duel between Reptile and Kano. There's a bit earlier in the trailer where you see like a figure sort of, materialize and sort of form like center frame. And to me, that looked like a more spectral, maybe it was Natara, like we know that Natara is on the cast, maybe it's Cabal, who's also on the cast. But if you look at the location, if you look in the background, you can see Sonya in that room. And that room itself is covered in the same, bits of evidence and post-it notes and everything else that was at the very beginning when Sonya was telling Cole about the tournament itself. You can directly compare these two shots. My guess would be that Sonya is actually arresting Kano in that scene, having used all the evidence to bring him down. And obviously that's when Reptile comes in, something happens with Sonya and Kano ends up fighting off against Reptile, or facing off against Reptile. That obviously ends with the Kano fatality of him punching Reptile's heart out, which is the heart that he has at the end. But my guess would be that he says Kano wins while standing in that room because all the evidence that was being used against him is now going up in flames. Either way, those are the same locations. That room covered in post-it notes and evidence and everything else is the same room from the beginning with Sonya and Cole as it is with Reptile and Kano. Some final quick things to throw in, very blink and you'll miss them type stuff, but there is one very quick shot of Smoke, which is really, really cool. Smoke was initially another palette swap ninja in the older Mortal Kombat games, full-on cyborg in MK3. And they, obviously Mortal Kombat in the games has gone into the whole Cyber Lin Kuei initiative, the idea of this entire ninja clan becoming cybernetically enhanced because that was what one of their leaders thought was the future. It's a whole thing. I would love it if they go into that stuff, but it's worth pointing out Smoke because it does hint at that wider Mortal Kombat universe. If McCoy's film is successful and we get sequels, we get an entire bunch of films, spawning off this, then we're going to need a lot more characters to do more stuff with, especially if we're going to be performing fatalities on them, because that means that the likes of Reptile can then never come back. Or, you can do some Mortal Kombat resurrection type stuff and bring him back if you want. But either way, things like this hint at the wider world of Mortal Kombat. And I also, to that end, I think that they're hinting at the existence of Quan Chi, because although they, explained Hanzo Hasashi becoming Scorpion in Mortal Kombat 4, and that's always been the case, that, Hanzo dies to the Lin Kuei assassination, ordered by SubZero, or so he thinks, only to descend into Netherrealm, where Quan Chi makes him Scorpion, makes him this Hell Wraith that then goes back out and fights Scorpion for the rest of time. Unless that becomes as full-on spoiler as to, the reality of what was really going on there, it has been a thing in the games, Quan Chi's involvement, then I guess we'll wait and see. But either way, it very much feels like they're seeding these other reveals that could come. I mean, all we've had is the first trailer. The movie's out in a couple of months, and I would hope that they have some bigger reveals in there. Because I certainly didn't think that Goro was going to be in there until he popped out in the trailer, which is just really cool to see. Next up, super quick, is Liu Kang summoning a dragon made of fire to finish a dude off. Literally a callback to his original dragon fatality from Mortal Kombat 2, which has been in a ton of different Mortal Kombat games, but you can go all the way back to the originals with that, which is really, it just looks badass. It was always one of those things where how are they going to do this? Are they going to have a giant CG dragon? But I think shooting it from that much distance, making it so that, it is made of fire. He has already mastered his abilities. It's not like the 1995 one. And he just can conjure a fire dragon to finish some dude off. That stuff looked really cool. And finally, just one other thing for the final fatality-style montage from the end of the Red Band trailer. If you frame by frame the middle shot, it's the bit when you see Melina sort of fall down and spin out, and as if she's been hit by something. Frame by frame this scene, and you can literally see Sonya standing to the left-hand side with one of her energy gauntlets that I forget how far back the whole, Sonya's projectile stuff goes. I feel like she was a martial artist before she had more range stuff. Either way, that's definitely her standing on the left side of the frame, making the save as Cole fights Melina. Whether that's a fatality, whether Melina comes back, whether they just showed the death of Melina in the trailer, we'll have to wait and see. But there's more going on in that scene than just a one-on-one fight. Okay, that is everything that I picked up on in the Mortal Kombat initial movie trailer thing. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Maybe there's stuff I missed. Obviously, I'm a massive Mortal Kombat fan, and I can't wait to pick this thing apart even more, especially when the full release comes in April 16th. For now, though, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll catch you soon.